Hey everyone, Mr. Newman here. This is the Unit 3 test review. So what I would recommend is I will pause the video before each problem, and I would highly recommend you try each problem before seeing how to do it. If, as you're watching me do it, it triggers a memory in your brain and you think all of a sudden, oh, I remember how to do this, I can finish it, pause the video, try to finish the problem on your own before watching the rest of the problem. This kind of work is going to optimize your time, is going to make you study most effectively for the test that's coming up. Of course, definitely watch the rest of the video in order to get the answer each time and make sure that you get the correct answer. So let's get started right away. First of all, for which linear function does f of negative 3 equal 11 and f of 6 equal 8? Make sure you check both things, but we need to plug in the input, negative 3, and get out 11. And then we'll have to plug in 6 and get out 8. So let me show you how we do that. Remind you, f of x, or f of negative 3, equals 1/3. We plugged in negative 3 here, because that was our input. And all of that, 1/3 times negative 3 minus 8, you can type all of that in the calculator, or you can do it step by step. Either way, you get negative 9. That is not 11, so that is not the correct answer. Over here, f of negative 3, we're going to try negative 3 again. I'm actually trying the one on the top right. Plug in negative 3 here. You get negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. 9 plus 10 is 19, so that is not the correct answer either. Down in the bottom left, I'm going to plug in negative 3. I have negative 1/3 times negative 3 is positive 1. That means that that is going to be 11. And that is the output we want. However, remember, you must check both. So we're going to check f of 6 here as well. If it also works, then we have our answer. So f of 6, negative 1/3 times 6 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 10 is 8. So we have our answer. That is the correct answer. Next, an arithmetic sequence is shown below. You need to have this formula memorized. If you've forgotten it, memorize it again, because this will help you figure out the answer. You can also do this by plotting the points on a table or a graph and finding f of 0 and using y equals mx plus b. But for this video, I'm going to show you how to use the formula. Remember, the common difference is how much it goes up by each time. That d is the common difference. That's plus 4 because we add 4 to each step to get to the next one. F of 1 is that first term, negative 6. I'm going to plug in negative 1 where f of 1 is. So my final answer is f of n equals negative 6 plus 4 times n minus 1. And you can look down there to find which one that is. Convert the following inequality from standard form to slope-intercept form. Well, we already have it in standard form, so we need to get y by itself in order to be a slope-intercept form. So let's start. Subtract 6x from both sides. You get negative 4y is less than or equal to negative 6x plus 40. Then to get y by itself, we divide by negative 4. Alert here, watch out. When you multiply or divide by a negative number, we need to switch that symbol right there. So y is greater than or equal to negative 6 over negative 4x plus 4 over negative 40 over negative 4. Now, I just noticed I divided each piece by negative 4. Make sure you do that. And we can simplify that because that is not one of the answer choices. Negative 6 over negative 4 is 3/2, 3 over 2. And 40 over negative 4 is negative 10. And you can find the answer choice there. Another thing I would do just to check is plug in some points. For example, plug in 0, 0. 0, 0 does work up here for this one. So that is a possible solution. But it does not work for all of these, and you can double check and eliminate some answers by plugging in more and more points. And there will be, at some point, you get just to the only equation that works. But that does take a little more time, and it's a good quick check, though, just to plug in at least 0, 0. All right, given that a line on a graph has a slope of negative 2 and it includes the point 1, 3, what is the slope-intercept form of the equation graphed? You could graph this. Notice over here, I'm going to graph 1, 3. I know what a slope of negative 2 does. It means when you take one step right, you go down 2. That means when you take one step left, you go up 2. So you could look at that line and figure out, oh, we know the slope, we know the y-intercept. Let's write down slope-intercept form equation. But I'm going to show you how to do it the other way too. We know y equals mx plus b is slope-intercept form. 3 is our y value. M is the slope, -2. And x is the x value of the point we got. Notice what I'm doing. I'm plugging in all the values I know, and I can solve for b to figure out the slope. So 3 equals -2 plus b. Add 2 to both sides. We get b is 5. And you can see that right there on the graph. Notice that b is 5. So y equals -2x plus 5 is the answer. Be careful that you get -2x, not 2x plus 5. Those solutions are almost always set up there. So now, if we have a graph that includes 2 points, we need to find the slope first before we do anything else. I'm going to do this by making a table, putting the points in the table, finding the delta y over delta x, the rate of change, because that is slope. 3 divided by -1 is -3, so that's our slope. So now I'm going to plug in the equation. I can pick either point. I'm just going to pick 5, 0 because it has a 0 in it, and that is often a little easier. 0 equals -3 times 5 plus b. 0 equals -15 plus b. And when you add 15 both sides, you find out b is 15. Now notice this was not one of the answer choices in the video. I will have changed your paper, so that should be one of the answer choices. We knew -3 was slope from back earlier, and 15 is the y-intercept. Again, this is another one you could plot and graph, and if you're very careful with your graph, you can draw it and find out the slope and the y-intercept from your graph. All right, Mr. Beale has 140 packs of candy for kids on Halloween. He knows he will give out 40 per hour. Let x be the number of hours giving out candy and y be the number of packs left. What are the intercepts of the function? Well, in order to find the intercepts, they have 3 different options. First thing we need to do is find the equation. So 140 packs of candy and 40 per hour. That seems like y equals mx plus b. 40 per hour is the slope, so I'm going to put y equals 40x plus 140. However, as I'm thinking about this, because he has the 40 packs of candy each hour, then he's going to be getting more and more candy, but he's not doing that. He's giving out the candy. See that? So that means we have to have a negative right there. Be very careful with that. Now, with that negative, what we're going to do is that means our y-intercept is 140. So the y-intercept is not, the x-intercept is not 140. Remember, that's the y-intercept in slope-intercept form. So b and d are not possible solutions. Now, there are 3 ways to figure out which of these last ones is correct. We could graph it, or we could make a table, or we could solve it algebraically. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to find out what is the x-intercept. We know the y-intercept from slope-intercept form, but what is the x-intercept? Oh, and also, worst case scenario, if you forget that which kind of intercept this is, whether it's x or the y, definitely graph it, and you can see which one it is. I'm going to show you guys the third option, though. The first and second, I think, are easier for some of us. And if you prefer to do one of those, you may. So, if we're solving algebraically, I know the x-intercept has y equal to 0. So, I'm going to plug in 0 for y. I'm going to solve for x, get x by itself. And when you do that, you get x equals 3.5. Now, I could have looked at this and also gone, wait a second, that 40, they're trying to trick me. They're trying to show, make the slope be the x-intercept. I know that's very rarely the case, and so that is not the right answer. All right, so on to number 7. Let t be the cost of a taco. Let's see, Mr. Gilbert bought 7 tacos and 3 drinks for a total of $21. Since t is the cost of the taco, and d is the cost of the drink, we need to write an equation to show the cost of the taco in terms of d. T is taco, so 7 times t is the cost of the taco, and 3 drinks, but 3 times d, those have to add up to a total of 21. So 7t plus 3d equals 21. Now, it says write the equation for the cost of the taco in terms of d. That means the cost of the taco is t. So we want to get t by itself, but we want to write the equation for the cost of the taco. Notice that D is not the cost of the taco, that's T, but that phrase, show the cost of the taco in terms of D, means have an equation where you plug in something for D, that's the input, and the output is T, so we're actually asking to get T by itself. So, let's get T by itself. Subtract 3D from both sides. 7T equals negative 3D plus 21. When you divide by 7, if you divide each piece by 7, negative 3 over 7 is negative 3/7. 21 over 7 is 3. So we get that equation right there. All right. Which of these tables represents a function with a constant rate of change? Choose all that apply. Right here, to find the rate of change, we do delta y over delta x. Now notice that some of these are changing, but that does not mean that it does not have a constant rate of change. We actually have to do the division. In fact, there are times when they trick us and the rate of change actually stays the same. So I'm going to divide delta y over delta x, 3 over 1. That's going to be 3. And if we look at the second rate of change, or the second set, 6 over 1 is 6, so that's not the same. So we know it does not have A does not have a constant rate of change. B, we notice that the x values are going up by 2 each time. And I'm going to make this a little faster. Instead of drawing all the arrows, I'm just going to write the numbers it's going up by. Notice y goes down by 1 each time. To get from negative 1 to negative 2, it's minus 1. So we're going to do negative 1 over 2 is negative 1/2. Notice that's the same for all of them, so we have a constant rate of change. But choose all that apply. Always look out for that on a test. That will get you answering more wrong problems than anything. So on the next one, we need to keep checking them. Plus 1, then plus 2, then plus 1. But the y values go down by 2 each time, so if I do that first one, now we have negative 2 over 1 is negative 2. But negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. Those are not the same, so that must mean that this one right here has a different rate of change. So C is not a possible answer. Whoops. All right. Last one. D. The x's go up by 5 each time, and it looks like the y's go down by 3 each time. So the rate of change is negative 3 over 5. Those are all negative 3 over 5. They're all the same rate of change, so this has a constant rate of change. So B and D are the correct answers. Thank you for watching, and I hope you are ready for the test.